returns, customization, security, accessibility, and value.
What do you guys think of the PLU model? Playing, learning, use, like, yes, the play requirements, the learner requirements, and the user requirements.
Yeah, they said that there are so many requirements and they are difficult to fulfill all of them. So they decided to divide them in play requirements, learning requirements, and user requirements. So if you have a game that you want to be more fun rather than learn something from the game, then you would concentrate on game design more than this learning potential category. So you can group the requirements based on.
I also find it difficult for them to place A and B in a three-dimensional area because
without shadows doesn't make sense.
For me, that where exactly is A? A could be a lot of places. I've got an axis for where A is, but it could be anywhere between some enabling features and no enabling features.
Because they use circles, it kind of looks like it's on the front face.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just here on the PU, plane.
Yeah, on the PU axis with no learning at all.
No.
Those two would sit both there quite happily. But they could also be, it could also be right at the back wall here. And have absolutely no user requirements.
But then you would imagine it being kind of
or much closer to us here.
It could also be coming forward and be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I can see that.
Make you more stupid.
Basically, one line from
point through the cube.
Yeah, that's true. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because this cube doesn't necessarily say you can't go in the negative direction.
It's kind of hard to imagine that B is along the learner's axis.
It would mean that it would have to be negative in
Exactly.
playability.
Yeah.
It would have to be extremely unplayable, but very useful for learning. You could say a lecture would be down there, extremely unplayable but useful for learning. But yeah, it's almost negatively playable. I suppose if you decide play as having choices, not having any choices would be considered the opposite of play. But yeah, so anyway.
I haven't really looked into that model, but I also find it kind of strange to dissociate user requirements from player and learner. I mean, you think that the user is a kind of an obvious part of play and learning. So yeah, I can.
Yeah,
it's not orthogonal. Both. It's kind of inclusive rather. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't find that breakdown a convincing way of breaking down it into kind of what you think of as being useful ways of mapping out a space, right? There are ways of mapping out a space, but I would expect normally things to be kind of more aligned and more correlated than an orthogonal axis like this would suggest, right? So I mean, it's and you can look at other things like if you put on sort of height and weight, right? Those aren't actually independent axes, right? Although you can map people on height and weight, you're going to get a fairly strong correlation through those two. And so that's why they use something like, BMI, which tries to flatten that out and say, okay, we can have a distribution on an axis that is independent of height. So we have BMI and diet rather than height, weight, and diet, right? So you can try and get rid of that correlation, which isn't really useful or interesting, it's just there. So I'm not sure if this is the best way of breaking the space down into interesting variation.
I don't think so. So the other problem I have, I have a problem being separated from P and L, and also separating P and L is kind of fundamentally broken if you're designing educational games.
But at the same time, it would be interesting if someone did a review and tried to plot games on the PL. That would be interesting, because I think that we're saying that serious games tend to be
not playable, not fun.
Not so high on the play part.
Yes, they fail on the playability part. So they may go quite, but the thing is, it also depends on what you mean by learner requirements. Is it because okay, you guys don't have in Norwegian the difference in German. I don't know if you have the difference between learning and teaching. Right? The word is the same. In English, we make a very strong distinction between teaching and learning. So I can teach a brick. The brick won't learn, but I can teach at it. Right? So teaching is something I do to something. Learning is something that that thing achieves. And I don't actually need to teach something for it to learn. Right? It can learn independent of teaching. But that act of framing things and trying to describe things in analogies and create a body of knowledge and carve knowledge at the joints to make it easier to digest, and all that is kind of teaching activity, didactic work, sort of almost independent of the learner. But having a learner-teacher distinction means that you can start talking about, well, you know, is the person learning? And if you mean learning requirements, then even if you have all the educational content, like I have all the formulas, if I look at learning requirements, if you don't learn those formulas, it failed. Even if it's got lots of it, as a learner outcome, it fails. As a teaching outcome, it might be very well structured and very nice, but the learner had no chance of learning. So you have to kind of think from what direction you're measuring that particular L. And although most serious games might therefore be high on learning content, right, as in taught components, it's high. If people don't learn from using it, maybe in terms of learner requirements, it would score low, right? So even though it appears to be a very serious, got all the mathematical formulas, or it's got all the physics formulas, or it's got all the historical dates that you need to remember, if you don't learn it from it, then maybe you don't succeed, right? So serious games that are bad serious games, you could put very low on the learner, but that's also partly because they'd be low on the play, and yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not sure that they're orthogonal. I'm certainly not user requirements. I'm making it orthogonal to learning.
No.
When you're talking about kids learning, it seems a bit odd to say, well, you know, the users, what do they want other than learning and play? What's the independent requirement for the learner other than learning and playing? What are they doing?
I think what they're thinking of is the general usability aspects that is not really, doesn't really have anything to do with the play or the learning part is just the bad design or bad interface. So
Yeah,
that's kind of something that you can
Yeah.
slap onto any system. So it's not really part of the learning, it's really not part of the playing, it's just bad design.
But the thing is that it doesn't, it doesn't make sense, because that's what kids do, right? Kids play with anything you give them, right? And they'll pick up a hammer and run around with it as a toy, because, you know, just because it's a tool doesn't mean that they're not going to turn it into a toy. Or knives. I've had to yell at my son for chasing his sister with a kitchen knife. You know, they were playing, but she was a little scared that he had the big carving knife and was chasing her. So, you know, you have to stop them when they turn other things into toys, but that's what they do, right? Independent of the interface, even a bad interface, they'll play with it. So, but anyway, okay, so, yep. So you've got these categories. What did you think of all these categories? So you said they're generally kind of interesting tick boxing, but
They can be useful for other things, other apps too.
okay, so you feel
So
most of them were.
security,
Yeah.
Yeah, should have that.
You're most of the U category.
Yeah. It's a bit-
There was a lot. So yeah, and the screen design stuff, the navigation and control stuff,
Responsiveness, ease of
Yeah.
use.
yeah, and learning potential, sufficient amount of content. Very subjective, I would assume. Yes, makes connection to authentic uses of learner content.
So Simon, you're more into this child psychology than I am. At what age could you expect kids to start really be able to do self-assessments? I think this is a bit too early to push them to do self-assessments.
Yes. Yeah, no, the self-assessment there, they're still
Around
really
12, is it?
yeah, they're still really bad at that at understanding that other people have minds that are independent of their own, right? So that idea of being able to assess yourself by reflecting on your behavior as if it was someone else, right? So that whole how would you feel if they did it to you doesn't actually work with kids, right? Because they don't have a mental model that allows them to have empathic feelings for other people and their mental state, right? It's just they'll kind of they're still working on building that machinery, so it's very hard for them to reflect. And certainly in kindergarten age, you're not.
I mean, they're always happy about what they do. I run the fastest. I run the fastest. Yeah, we all run the fastest.
Oh, our two are so competitive. Like William gets very grumpy when he doesn't win. They have races and he wants to win, and so his sister now lets him win occasionally, so he doesn't throw tantrums. But she's at the stage where she is trying to be nice to William and let him win. So yeah, but she's just starting to develop that idea of I can think about other people, but being self-reflective is still really hard. So yeah, but self-assessment includes self-assessment to advance child achievement. Really, kindergarten self-assessment?
No. I don't
12
think
years.
We struggle to get university first year to do self-assessment. I mean,
talking about a different level of satisfaction.
no, just like
And they would do.
asking them, why did you do that? Yeah, they still struggle. But yeah, so no, some of them are, and they have this kind of one section of game design elements, right? So and so they break it down into challenge, story, and sort of mechanics, I assume, is what they kind of mean by type and scope. But they don't really. So there's just some chance for creativity. So there's just some of that sort of some of, if you think about the player types. Actually, if you look at Bartle's 4 player types, there's an extension out to I think 8 and 12. And one of the extensions is the crafter is a player type, right? So craft is like making stuff, and Minecraft is all the way crafter, right? It massively supports crafter, and I think it's almost turning some kids who weren't natively crafters into crafters because that's what you do in the game to succeed, right? So it's actually shifting a bunch of kids in potentially susceptible time for how they shape what they find interesting into crafters. So I mean, I'll be interested to see if there's a player type shift as the Minecraft players come through, who have been rewarded for crafting for so much of their gaming experience. But so yeah, so Minecraft fits as the massive crafting. But the idea is they kind of suggest that you should be able to go through and categorize things using this. So, if you have a look at the second paper, I know then they have a conclusion, which is basically we did this. We hope this framework will be, it will also be loading. Yes, will also be used, basically. They're just.
My experience with frameworks, it would be good if they use it themselves in the future. It is that a lot of people come with frameworks, never to use them again or refer to them again.
Yep. Yeah. No, if you're going to do a framework like this, you'd want to see them starting to do an analysis of, say, pay a postdoc or get a master's student to do a master's on using this framework to analyze all the learning games they could, and just go through and do that full assessment. And analyze the literature and put them in the framework, and then see if the framework makes sense. Does it allow you to find games that have similar effects, or work out why a game didn't work or did work, or yeah. So they've presented a tool which you then could use to do interesting stuff. But I thought, given you guys are about to make a game for this group, I thought as a paper, it's a framework you could look at.
Yeah, that's some heuristics we use.
Yeah, some rules of thumb.
It's like a checklist.
Yeah.
This and this.
Yes, we have large icons. Yes, we have audio.
Yeah.
No, we don't have long sentences.
See, I feel that for some of
Based on
this,
research.
Yeah.
you have a fun game. The research says it will be fun,
Yeah.
and if the children don't like it, it's their fault. Stupid children. We've ticked every box in the category. And this is one of the big, like, the debates in game, in actual game design, game development at the moment is, and you see some of this on Gamer Sutra, is the discussion of the death of game design. Right? Because people are feeling in game design that a lot of the games are being designed by metrics rather than designed by inspiration. Right? It's not that you have an artist who is a designer who has a feeling for what people want and then executes their vision. It's that you have people do something, they test it, they get some numbers, they tweak it, they get some numbers, they tweak it, they get some numbers, they tweak it, they get some numbers, and it's just like, designed by number.
Sounds like other media. TV, books, music, isn't it?
Hollywood. yeah. And yeah.
And then once in a while you get those games.
You get a game, an indie game that is actually made beautifully, but then most of it is kind of, turning the handle, turning the middle, spitting out the.
Yet another one.
Yet another example. I remember I looked a couple of years ago. I haven't looked recently, but a couple of years ago, you look at the top 10 games. Every single one of them had a number in the title. They were all sequels of some kind. There was not a single new IP in the top 10 games. It's kind of, they're just turning the handle, and that's what makes money. So there's this discussion on this kind of checkbox kind of design approach and the numeric based design. And one of the challenges with the checkbox design approach is that, given that you create a checkbox that looks like this, you then get a bunch of people, not unlike yourself, to then go and make games. And they check all the boxes and they say, yeah, it'll be a good game. And it's not quite that simple to make a good game, right? We're going to get you guys to try, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean that all games are bad or that no game could be useful. It just means the game you've made might not work. Right? But this kind of thing is not about making your game good. It's trying to avoid it being bad. Right? And that distinction is very significant. I make that distinction in teaching. Right? So a lot of the quality systems you see at university are not about making the best lecturers better. They're about making sure that the worst lecturers do not damage the students. Right? So there are a bunch of checkbox concerns where you're supposed to try and get up to a minimum standard. And you check all those boxes so that you're not terrible. And that's what I feel most of this stuff is more about, okay, how do we check off that we're not breaking the experience so badly that it could, even if it was a good game, the bits we've broken means it won't work. It's, I think of this as more, and sometimes I use the word hygiene factor. Have I explained the word hygiene factor to you guys? So a hygiene factor is if you go to a restaurant, when you rate the food, there is a level of hygiene that if it falls below, you don't really care if it tastes nice or not, it fails, right? If it's unhygienic, if it gives you food poisoning, didn't matter if it tasted nice or well presented, gives you food poisoning, it fails, right? And so, but once you meet the threshold of hygiene, being more hygienic doesn't make the meal better, right? Because once it's clean and hygienic, you tick that off. You no longer think about it when you assess the quality of the meal, right? So rather than a scalar from bad to really good, it's this threshold component. Once met, it's ignored. So A lot of these are threshold components, saying it won't determine whether your game is enjoyable or not. It just, if it doesn't have this, it breaks. So it's not, yeah, it's not like, does it have large icons? Doesn't mean that larger icons are going to make it even better and even better and even better if your icons are the size of the room. So yeah, there's a threshold. And so hygiene factor is often used as a phrase for referring to that kind of input, which has kind of a negative break, positive no input. So I feel a lot of those are kind of hygiene factors and prevent your game from breaking. Of course, you probably should be hygienic. Right? Designing your game so it's not going to break is probably a good idea. So, but it won't. You can't guarantee that it's going to be a good game just by ticking all the boxes.
Same as the food.
The same as food. I mean, my mum can her kitchen can be really, really clean, but when she boils broccoli for 25 minutes, the broccoli doesn't really look like broccoli anymore, and you put his fork in the kind of it's clean food. it's just yeah.
25 minutes of boiling is very clean food.
It's very clean broccoli at that point, but it's not very tasty. So yeah, hygienic doesn't make the food better.
It's just a threshold.
It's just a threshold. Okay, so do we want to have a quick break and then the second paper, or yeah, okay, we'll have a 10-15 minute break and start at the past.
Okay. So Marcus, I'm gonna switch you off and then we try again.
Okay. Marcus has apparently been also following me here.
Yeah.
Though